Hello, my name is Dave O'Neill. I work for the Digital Current Affairs Department, and we've been looking at different ways of doing Facebook Lives by putting in a broadcast camera or perhaps taking a Skype line or a FaceTime line. The software we use to do this is a free piece of software called OBS Studio, Open Broadcaster Software. You can get that at obsproject.com. Now, don't worry about the classic version. That's the old version. You want the newest version, which is the OBS Studio. If you download for your machine and install, whilst we're installing software, there's another piece of software you'll need later on to deal with sound. This piece of software is called Soundflower, and it's actually quite old now, and they've stopped developing it, but it still works very, very well. And this, again, is open source. Now, if you search in Google for Soundflower 2.0, B2, stands for Beta 2, you can still find somebody who's packaged it up for the Mac. And if you install that on your machine, we'll come back to it later, and I'll tell you how to set that up in order to get sounds from Skype or FaceTime to go straight through to the broadcast software. So first of all, let's open up the OBS software. And we'll look at setting this up. And here we have a totally blank canvas. So first thing we do, we'll click on the settings tab. And we're going to set the video to the size we want. Now it starts with the dimensions of your computer, which is way too big for what we need. So depending on what you want to broadcast, you could broadcast a traditional horizontal ratio, which would be 1920 by 1080 for high definition. You've got two boxes here. One's for the base, which is the canvas which everything sits on. The other one is what actually gets outputted, what actually gets sent up to Facebook. Good idea to keep both of these the same. For Facebook Live, things look very, very good. You get a lot more space on the screen if you actually use square. So for this, I'm going to set it up 1080 by 1080, which is going to give us a square box. And you can also see there that there is frames per second. So let's now take a look at the boxes on the bottom left-hand corner. We have scenes and sources. Now the scenes are going to be the different things that we wish to switch between, such as a main camera or a Skype camera or an image or a clip. And the sources box next to it, that'll be the things that make up those scenes. So let's make a new scene first of all. Let's tick the plus at the bottom left-hand corner, and we call this one main camera. We're now going to click on the plus on the sources box, and we get a list of things which we can add. And for this camera, we're going to choose a video capture device, and we'll label that one webcam. And in the device list here, you see you can use your FaceTime HD camera. There I am. Hello. And that could be your main camera. You don't need to plug an extra camera in. You could use the camera that is built into your laptop. So I can resize this and move it around the canvas. But I'm now going to add another video source. This time I'm going to label this the name of my camera, which is the XF305. And I'm using a black magic box to get this into the Thunderbolt port of my Mac. So again, there it comes. So that's actually a live feed from the XF305 camera, which is plugged into my laptop. And that's much better than looking at me. So now we're going to create another scene. This one I'm going to call Skype. And in the sources part, I'm now going to do a window capture. Now I've already got Skype open on my computer. If I click on window capture and I give this a name, I'll just show you here. If you use the same name as a scene, it won't let you allow a duplicate name. So I'm just going to add camera to that, call it Skype camera. And now in the drop down box, you'll see a list of windows that are open on your computer, so I can select Skype. Now, if you can't see the window that's open, if you click on Show Windows with Empty Names, you'll get a much bigger list. And we click OK. And there's our Skype screen. Now, it doesn't matter where Skype is on your computer. It will always capture what's being seen and place it in this canvas. And I can resize that just like the camera. Place it wherever I like in the box. And now I can click between these two sources and change between main camera and the Skype camera. So the next thing I want to do is to add some graphics to this. So I'm in the sources panel. I'm going to add a new image. So I've made some banners. So let's call this one the news magazine. And click OK. And now I can select a file from anywhere. I can actually put a web address in there and have it straight from the internet. Or here's one I prepared earlier. And I just created that in Photoshop. It's a PNG file, which is 1080 by 1080. And the bottom part of that you can see is transparent. But I've put a red bar and just a little logo. And that's so we can put some text to the right of it, which we'll do in a minute. Now, I need to add that to the other sources as well. And this is slightly quicker because all I need to do here is click on the plus again to add an image. And you'll see it's actually already exists in the existing box. So I just need to click add existing, choose the banner, and there it appears. It appears in both the main camera and the Skype scenes. And I can flick between the two and the banner stays on top. So the next thing to do is to create a text layer. I can click the plus, choose text, and I'll call this the banner title. Here we have a box where you can type your text and you have the ability to change font, change size, and typeface, but it's not very easy to justify the text. So one thing I do recommend doing is scrolling down to the bottom of this and putting in the width of your canvas. So for me, this will be 1080. And then going back up to the text and actually just using spaces to justify where you want this title to be. Remember, you don't have to just do titles. This could be Astons, you could be naming people, you could be naming a place. And same with the graphics on the other layers. It will be in the existing box, so I can just add that. And now when I mix between the two, I get exactly the same at the top of the screen. Now, one of the benefits of using an existing title or image is that you can edit this. And I'll just change the last word here so you can see I'll swap title for change. And it will update throughout all of the other scenes. So if I now click back to the main camera, you can see that that text has changed on both. Now let's try adding a clip. I'm going to click on the plus and I'm going to choose a media source. Give the source a name and then I have the ability to find the file on my computer. We find MP4s work quite well. Apple ProRes had trouble playing the sound, so you might want to play around with different formats, see what works for you. I have the ability to loop the video so it never stops and restart playback when source becomes active. I'll come on to in a moment. I'm going to untick that for now so I can position the video when we place it in. I'm going to untick hide source when playback ends so it stays on screen. I'm also going to untick in the advanced the force format conversion so that the computer's not doing more than it has to. And there you can see the video automatically playing and I can resize that video just like any other item on the canvas. I can just click the corners, resize it and drag it around and there is that clip. And you will notice in a minute in the middle at the bottom there's a little sound mixer, and when I cut it to air you'll see that the audio is also playing out with that. You'll also notice when I cut the video up it's just moving across to the live output, but wherever it happens to be, so it's in the middle of the clip at the moment. So now if I go back to the properties and I choose restart playback when source becomes active, when I then cut this to go live, you'll see that the video resets and starts from the beginning. Now a nice touch to add to this might be to keep the same color behind. So I'm just going to add a new image into here and add in a red box I've made. Again, just made in Photoshop with the BBC Red color palette. And I'm just going to slip that behind the video. And now when I bring this layer in, you'll see that it jumps straight to the top of the sources, and a bit like Photoshop layers, anything on top will cover anything underneath. So I'm going to take that layer and drag it to the bottom of that pile, and there it sits underneath the video there. You'll also notice next to the sources are little eyes. Now if the eye is illuminated, then that layer is on. And if you click on the eye, you get a little line through it, you can switch them off. So I can switch that red box off and I can turn the camera on, have the camera as a background if I wanted to. Now we're going to take a look at sound. If you look in the middle at the bottom, you can see a little mixer area. Now that's currently empty. So we're going to put some sound sources in there. If we go to the settings tab and then click on the audio, you'll see that we've got 2 boxes for audio that comes from the computer, and we've got 3 boxes for a mic or an auxiliary device. So let's deal with the microphone first. If you click on the drop-down box, you'll see that you can just use your built-in microphone, the one that's in the laptop. Maybe if you're using your webcam, that might be good enough for you. Or you might like maybe using a USB sound card. In this case, I'm using a Shure digital device. And now if I select that, if I plug my microphone into the Shure device, it will then appear in this mixer area. Now we're also using a Skype feed, and this is where things might start to get a little bit complicated with sound, but we need to get the sound from Skype to this software. Now you could use default, which I've just selected here, which means that anything that's playing on your laptop will play out on the broadcasting software. The problem with this is that you might have tabs open where you're receiving emails or notifications, and you're getting those sounds on your laptop as well. It's a good idea to make this sound as clean as possible. So we're going to use Soundflower, which is the piece of software we installed at the very beginning of this video. Now with Soundflower, it's a virtual routing device for audio, which means we can send the audio to the Soundflower device, and then we can then route this audio wherever we like. So here I'm actually going to select, if you've got the software installed properly, you'll see in this drop down list Soundflower 2-channel. And what you must remember to do is to route all of the pieces of software that you want to be heard in here to the Soundflower virtual software. Now we'll do that in a moment. Just before we go on though, I will just point out that there are some additional options here to add some filters. You can add some extra gain, or you can add a noise gate if you just click on the filters button. You do have the ability to add an extra bit of gain if your microphone needs a bit more power, or if your line is coming in quite low and you need to give it a boost. And also in the properties tab, you'll see that we can change the device. If the device you've used is incorrect, you can change your device here. It's also worth noting at this stage, if you're using the Soundflower virtual audio, that will stop working if your laptop is muted. So if you do wish to turn your sound down, make sure you just turn the sound down to its lowest setting, but not 0, because your computer will mute and it will stop all sounds going through to the Soundflower software. So make sure it's not muted, but it's just turned down. So now we can open up Skype, or if you're using FaceTime or any other video conferencing software, go to your settings and make sure the output is set to Soundflower 2-channel. Now, one of the problems we have here is that this audio will be routed directly to the broadcast software. Therefore, it will not be being routed to any other output that you can hear. And so to do that, we need to use a multi-output device. So we can take the audio from our video program or audio program and send it to multiple devices. As you can see in my example, we send the feed from Skype or FaceTime to a screen which is sat next to the presenter. So we need to be able to send that audio to the screen as well as the broadcast software, so the person doing the interview is able to hear the contributor. So to do this, we need to start up the program built into your Mac. It's called the Audio MIDI Setup. If you do a search for MIDI and open the program, and down on the bottom left, you'll see another plus symbol. And if you click on this, we can choose Create Multi-Output Device. You'll see a list of all of the outputs available on our computer. And we can choose which ones we want to send the audio to at the same time. So for this, you can see Soundflower is already selected. I'm also going to select the HDMI, which will send the audio to the television with the presenter next to. And also you could choose the built-in output if you want the audio to come out of your speakers. I don't need this in my case. So now you can close the MIDI program and you can open up your video or audio software. You may need to reboot it, but you should see in your output selection box the multi-output device. So if we select multi-output device, that means when our Skype call is active, then the audio will go to the multi-output device, which will feed it to the broadcasting software. It will feed it to the monitor. And if you selected it, it will feed it to your laptop speakers. Whilst we're here, it's also worth pointing out that some software such as Skype will let you select an external sound card as the microphone. So in my case, I can select the Shure Digital device that I'm using to plug a broadcast mic into, and that will go back down the Skype line rather than using the built-in microphone which is in the laptop. And now it's time to go live. So we can see in the OBS software I have all of my scenes in order. I have the main camera, the Skype camera, I have a clip ready to play, and I've also made a little start screen. So this is the banner at the top as usual and a picture of what we're about to talk about. We could put some text here. The reason I do this is because if you broadcast using this software, there's a small delay between telling the software to go live and you knowing that you are live. And this just prevents having a presenter blankly staring into a screen or not knowing whether they're on. So it's kind of good to go live with a frame that introduces what you're doing. And then when you know you're live, you can then put the presenter to air, and that looks a bit more professional. Just a word at this stage about how the software works. At the top of the screen, we have two different views. On the right-hand side is what will be going out live. So anything you see in this window will be going out live on your stream. On the other side is a preview of what's going out live. So that gives you the ability to change text or to move items around. Perhaps one of your contributors might have moved in frame. You can move all of those cameras around and resize things, and then click the cut button. And when you click cut or fade, if you want a nice soft transition, and once it will appear in the right hand side, that means it is going out live. So it's quite nice to work in this environment where you can actually play with the text and graphics on the left hand side in the middle of a live broadcast. The software does have the opportunity to cut live if you want to. On the right hand side you will see studio mode. If you turn studio mode off, then you will be left with one screen and you can just cut between your scenes. That might be an easier way of some people working, but for me it's quite nice to see what's coming up before we put it to air. So now we're ready to go. We're going to go to the Facebook page. And remember, this software is not just about Facebook. It will do many streaming services. And we're going to go to the page we wish the video to appear on. Here is the BBC News Magazine page. And right at the top of the page, you'll see a Publishing Tools tab. If I click on that, and on the left-hand side, I can now click on Videos. And when I do that, you'll see a little extra box crop up at the top, which says Live. Now, if we click on the live box, we should get a little pop-up, which will give us some important information that we need to give the broadcast software. There are three things on there, and we are not interested in the first two. All we need is the stream key, which is the last one there. If you click on that and copy that to your clipboard and press the preview button, then Facebook will go and wait to be sent that video. Now, obviously, we're not sending it at the moment. So very quickly it will say the video's offline and it will once again give you your stream key. So now we're going to go back to the broadcasting software. We're going to go into the settings tab and we're going to have a look at the stream settings. Now in the stream type you can choose a custom streaming server if you ever need to do that. But for now we're going to choose the streaming services, and under the services you will see a selection of the more popular streaming services. There is a tick box there to show more, some of the not so popular ones, but we're just going to tick Facebook Live, leave the server on default, and here's the place to put the stream key, which you copied a moment ago. You have the opportunity to show that. It's guarded like a password because if anybody has your stream key, they can broadcast onto that page. And we're going to click OK and start streaming. But don't worry, we are not actually live. All we are doing now is sending the information from the broadcasting software to Facebook. And if I come back to the Facebook page, we can then suddenly see that something's happening, and here it is. Here is the output of our broadcasting software, and you can see there it very clearly says preview up the top. At this stage, you'll be hearing sound on your laptop. If you're in close proximity to where the broadcast is happening, you might want to turn your speakers down at this point because it'll be on a delay. Now here we can put a status update in about what the video is all about. We can put in a video title, and we can even put in some video tags. And what I usually do now is make the size of that screen smaller so I can keep an eye on the live output, and make the broadcasting software a little bit smaller and pop that on the other side. And then I can see what's going out live, and I've got my mixing software. So now we are all ready to go. What I will just do, I'm just going to cut between the main camera and the starting page and keep an eye on that preview screen. And there it is. It's moved along. So I know that that feed is going live. Now, if you look at the mixer, we can turn down the audio before we start if you don't want any audio. But there's quite a lot going on when you go live, so just watch that you don't go live and forget to fade that audio up. So now we're ready. We're going to come over to the Facebook Live page, and we're going to click Go Live on the bottom right-hand side. Now the Facebook software will think about it for a moment, and then you'll see this screen disappear. This is approximately the time you're live, but you don't have any guarantee until you get the live screen back. And there it pops up. You can see we're live. You can now fade over to your presenter, give them the thumbs up, and they can start broadcasting. And that's it. You're now live. You can now flick between sources, between images, between your Skype contributor, between your FaceTime contributor. And you'll notice over on the Facebook panel that you'll get live statistics. You'll see how many people are watching your stream and for how long they're watching your stream. So if I now play in this clip, you can then see that the audio is following that clip. And then we can come back to our Skype guest. We can come back to the main camera. And when we're finished broadcasting, come back over to the Facebook Live page and click End Live Video. You get a confirmation screen. Just click End and you're all done.